Hello and welcome back to Live from Paris here on France 24. And it's Fashion Friday, and as always, Jessica Michaud, who's the editor-in-chief of Now Fashion, is here to tell us all about the latest news in the world of fashion and luxury. And this week, Jessica, you're going to be telling us all about the most recent haute couture shows, which wrapped up just yesterday here in Paris. Always a big highlight.
Yes, absolutely. Now, as you know, haute couture is different than pret-a-porter because it's made-to-measure clothing. Women come to Paris and are fitted 2 to 3 times, and the starting price of most of these pieces you're going to be seeing, or the price of a small car, is the starting price. It's all about the exceptional, the savoir-faire of the seamstresses. The fabrics are exceptional. Even the designs themselves are quite outrageous. Haute couture is all about satisfying the individual and not the buyers or the department stores.
Okay, so very much, as you can see, an individual experience
Yes.
there. But this season wasn't Haute Couture Fashion Week focused on one particular brand?
Yes, the entire focus of this Haute Couture Fashion Week was on the arrival of Raf Simons at Christian Dior. It was really the final chapter of this show in what has been a year-and-a-half-long drama that started when John Galliano was fired from the house and disgraced after hurling racist slurs at a couple in a Parisian bar. And then there was a very long, very public search for Galliano's replacement, and now Dior has finally turned the page with this Haute Couture show. Not only was it the designer's first ever show for Christian Dior, it was also his first ever Haute Couture collection that he's ever done, which can be quite a daunting experience. The collection was shown in a series of rooms with walls covered floor to ceiling and over 1 million flowers. It took 8 days to put those in the walls. Each room had a different shade of flower, from pink rose to white orchids to yellow mimosa and blue delphiniums, and really set the stage and heighten the anticipation for the show. There was such a demand for this collection to be seen that they had to do it 2 shows. And to give you an idea of how important the show was in the grand scheme of things, a number of major fashion designers from other prominent fashion houses, Alba Baz, Riccardo Tisci, also came to the show, which pretty much is unheard of within the industry. Now, as you could see from those images we were showing you, the style of the show and the look of Raf Simons is much more minimalistic, much more modern than what you remember from Galliano. Very romantic, very highly embellished, and very much the opposite of him. And then you also probably picked up, if you're a fashion fanatic, that he really referenced one of the most iconic couture shows of Christian Dior, and that was the 1947 New Look collection. And the most famous outfit from that collection was the bar outfit. So that's that great hourglass silhouette that we were seeing, and that was reconstructed in a number of different looks. And in fact, that you think that this show was took only 3 months to put together. It's quite impressive. We actually talked to Raf Simons after the show about why he decided to look back at the heritage of the house, and this is what he had to say.
I really try to investigate what his codes are, because I think that it's very important for Christian Dior to kind of re-look at what the codes were in the house, because there used to be very, very specific codes that he created, that he kept on doing. And I think it's very important for the brand to be very recognizable in the future.
So Raf Simons there from Christian Dior. But Christian Dior wasn't the only haute couture show sort of taking a look back. Chanel was also something of a vintage collection.
Well, kind of. The actual title that Karl Lagerfeld gave to the Chanel show was New Vintage. Once again, the designer showed at the Grand Palais, but did a more of an intimate setting this time than in the past. This season, the show was a refined garden setting with lots of white wicker furniture and champagne and little, bite-sized macaroons. And the collection was an exploration about reinterpreting past codes and shapes and styles of the house and making them modern. We talked to Karl Lagerfeld about the inspiration for the show, so let's listen to what Karl has to say.
What's amusing, it's a renewal. That's to say, it originates from old Chanel suits, things that I made myself a long time ago. And that's the spirit, the attitude of it all. But it's also something entirely different at the same time, because it's not made in the same way. It represents a new attitude. It's much more relaxed. So it's like a new start for a vintage that's to come. And it's for this reason that it's called New Vintage.
Okay, so 2 very fascinating and quite different, although they have similarities, ideas for shows. How do designers come up with these ideas?
Well, it's very complicated where designers get their starting point. There can be muses, there's different inspirations from books, etc. But I can tell you that Karl Lagerfeld has a new muse who was the inspiration for this collection, and it was this muse who he was thinking of, particularly for the wedding dress that you see at the end of the show. And we actually were able to capture him telling one of the people backstage who that muse was. So we have that. So why don't we take a look at that?
She's not bad, this little Choupette.
Who?
Choupette, ma chatte.
Choupette, my cat. I have this little pussy cat named Choupette. She's like a big ball of fur. That's what she resembled this morning.
And she inspired the wedding gown?
Yes.
But why?
Because we find muses where we can.
That's lovely. So it's his cat that inspired that great big puffy gown. I like that story.
Yeah, but wait, it gets better. Okay, so Choupette, his cat, that he's had for a very short amount of time, she has her own Twitter feed, Choupette's Diary. She has already 9,000 followers. And the latest Chanel bag is, of course, called the Choupette.
Wow. So the producer's saying he's very jealous. He wants that many Twitter followers as well. Well, that's fabulous. A kitten as a muse. That's brilliant. Any other highlights from Haute Couture?
Absolutely. Another big moment for Haute Couture this week was the return of the Versace brand onto the catwalk for the first time. And Donatella Versace pulled out all the stops with this collection. She returned to the Ritz, the same place where her late brother, Gianni Versace, did his very iconic and mythical Haute Couture fashion shows. Her collection was 100% Versace. You cannot deny every look on this collection was Versace. But it wasn't just Versace on the runway. It was also Versace in the front row. She had pretty much, I think she had a good 20 A-list celebrities sitting in the front row, taking up all the good seats, from Elizabeth Banks to Leah Michelle from Glee to Christina Hendricks from Mad Women, the singer MIA, Jessica Alba, Mila Jovanovic, Pierce Brosnan. The list goes on and on and on. It was definitely a fashion moment.
Oh, definitely. And one up-and-coming designer to mention as well.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to talk about a young designer. It's her third collection on the Haute Couture catwalks. She's really come into her own this season. Her name is Li Qiyin, and she's a Chinese designer, the first ever to be accredited and to go onto the Haute Couture official calendar. Much very organic look to her clothing, also kind of erotic in the way it's shaped, and I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of interesting things from her in the future. I think this is one to watch.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Jessica Michaud, for that look at the recent Haute Couture shows in Paris. That's all for this week, but if viewers at home want to, they can read Jessica's fashion reviews on nowfashion.com and follow her on her blog, jessicamichaud.com as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, let's get a quick reminder now of our top story this hour here on France 24. Representatives from around 100 countries have arrived here in Paris to discuss the crisis in Syria. The US is set to call for tough new sanctions against President Bashar al-Assad at today's Friends of Syria meeting here in Paris. François Hollande opened that gathering by repeating his call for President Assad to step down, and he appealed to Russia and China to back regime change. Well, that's it from us for now. Many thanks for joining us. And don't go away. Very soon we'll have Louise Hanna will be here with more news headlines for you. Bye for now.